And we are live. Gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Mecca of Banter podcast. I am this week's host, Henry Wind. You can find me on Twitter at Henry Wind. And I'll just say it, fellas. I'm so back. After a 3-week hiatus from this podcast, I am so back. I'm slinged up, a brand new shoulder, and it feels good to be back. It's a great week to be a Manchester United fan. Not everyone can say that they still have something to play for this season. Not everyone can say it. So I'm proud to be a United fan today. And, I'll introduce myself first, obviously. And I feel like the only place we can go after that is second. So, Lucas, how are you doing, brother?
What's up, guys? Good to be here. It's Winks. You can find me on Twitter at LCW21. Yeah, gutting weekend, to say the least. I know we talked about it last episode, or maybe it was before we started recording, but this year hurt a lot more than last year, seeing the slope that we kind of slid down, and I know we'll talk about it, so I won't go too deep into it. But, good to be here and be able to talk about it. Nonetheless.
Happy to have you here, brother. Happy to have you here. Connor Sindobry, how are you feeling today?
It's match week. It's match week. Super excited to see the training pics of the boys this week. No, fellas, it's good to see you guys. Truthfully, just happy that the Premier League's over. I'm kind of just treating this week like a new season. Like everybody has a fresh start. Everybody go out and just win the game, and that's all that matters. But no, it's good to be here. City let us down like no other twice over the past week. So they're not really my outlet anymore. But on the bright side, I do have to mention Bielefeld did stay up. So we're in Bundesliga 2 for another season, fellas. Everybody clap it up.
Up the Bielefeld.
Clap it up.
I thought it was 3.
Maybe 3. That
think
shows
it's
you how
3.
much of a fan I am.
No, die hard. And last but not least, rounding out the top 4, narrowly missing out on the top 4, Andy Hoover. What's going on, man?
At what cost? Am I right? Oh, happy to be here. Also happy the season's over. It's kind of like just having a Band-Aid ripped. Like, now we can heal. We can heal it up. We can, look forward. Everything's going to be great. Stoked to be here. Didn't get to watch as much footy this weekend as I'd have liked, but I sure did get to tune in on Sunday. So, I'm excited to chat. Let's do it.
Let's rip. And real quick, fellas, blink if you haven't purchased a Father's Day gift. We thought so. So today's episode is brought to you by Manscaped, the leaders in the below-the-waist grooming. Maybe your pops has had a bush since the 70s, and that's okay. But our friends over at Manscaped have crafted the total package for his special day. Whether it's for the boys downstairs, his beard, or even the best pair of underwear out there, Manscaped has his bases covered. Head over to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping with code MECCA20. That is MECCA20, and turn daddy to zaddy. Trust Manscaped. How about it? Not really a visual I want to think about, but fucking A, we're thankful.
Wow.
We're grateful.
I can't believe you made it. You made it all the way through that read. I was over here cracking up. I had to mute myself.
Honestly, man, I'm just a professional. Not many people can say that, but I'm just a professional out here. Professionals that also had a laughable effort. St. Louis City played 2 soccer games this week.
Hey.
We had a midweek game against LAFC, and we had a weekend game against Cincinnati. I don't know where you want to dive in. There's a lot to talk about on both. This could also fall into that category of ripping a Band-Aid off and now we heal. I don't know. It just 2 games that were so upsetting to watch for different reasons. Who wants to dive in? Who wants to go for it?
It's the issue with both games is that we have no attacking threat. And it showed in these 2 specifically. Berkey was our highest XG, expected assists against LA, which that can't happen. He's actually the farthest guy back on the pitch. Your keeper stops goals, not creates them. LA was a really frustrating watch. I do feel that they were the better team, but Markanich got lost twice. And there wasn't anything really going forward. I mean, again, we're not going to just continue to double down on how terrible the MLS refs are. Every single one of them individually, some of the worst performances I've seen while watching the sport. But, again, we don't know what the handball rule is still just confused as to where those come into play and where they don't. I was excited to see Marcanic score on a corner because we haven't had a ton of production from corners this year.
Right.
And we had so many. And I don't think the deliveries have been poor, but man, to not capitalize on one of those, and really throughout the year we haven't done that. That's starting to be a glaring miss. I kept saying it. I saw all my friends in the stands. It's like, get Tim Parker's big head ass up there. Like, I need to see my man run to the corner I haven't seen it in a while. So that, when you can't capitalize on that and you don't have any sort of productivity through the middle anyway, and attacking output and threat, there's not a whole lot of positives to pull out of this. I was at a wedding for the Cincy game. But, my only real reaction is, did we really need to rotate the team that hard?
Yeah,
I mean,
literally.
Top to bottom, whole new squad. What did we expect? Like, what did they think the outcome was going to be? Obviously, we've played almost the exact same starting 11 bar Nilsson on Wednesday for 5 matches straight. Good. It was looking all right. We had some, it started to pick up some steam. I get resting guys, dude, but the way that Carnell just shipped it in for Cincinnati blew my mind completely. I will give a quick shout out to Matt Miazga, noted one of my favorite center backs, U.S. men team of all time. Love the guy. He's done nothing but help St. Louis. That was an awesome own goal. But again, that was all we could put on the board. That we guessed 0 goals in the St. Louis City content creator charity tournament thing, and I can't believe we got one. And of course it was Matt Miazga that shoved one in his own net. But, long ass season. Those draws are going to come back to really help us when it comes time for playoffs, boys. So glad we kept putting up 1 point on the board for the first 7 weeks.
It's killer to watch. I mean, Wednesday's game was tough. LAFC has a lot of firepower going forward. They always have. They always will. And the frustrating thing is that I felt like in the first half, even though we weren't creating opportunities, like we were hanging with them, and I think that that's what you got to do. The red card was just insane. I mean, there's multiple calls in that Wednesday game that, the St. Louis guy had the ball and then LAFC came to try to tackle them and then St. Louis somehow got the foul. And then the red card was no different. Like, I know that you all were at the game. You didn't get to see multiple replays, but I was at home watching and literally Marcanic gets tackled from behind and his hand as he's falling hits the guy in the face. Not a swinging, not a striking, just natural falling motion. And then Marcanic gets a second yellow. No foul on the first guy, by the way. And then red card. So it's just ridiculous things like that. It's tough. It's just tough to see. And then he moved into Cincinnati, and I agree the exact same way. The rotation that we had for the Cincinnati game reminded me of last year. I think we went to LAFC or we went to LA Galaxy, and we literally started a completely new 11. And it felt like that was another game that Carnell was just like, yeah, we're just not going to win this regardless, so it doesn't matter. And that's now twice that we're seeing him do that. And that's never a good sign. It's never a good sign when your coach is playing a visibly weekend 11 against one of the better teams in the league. That's just not good. Big problem with this game is I think Jackson is continued to prove us wrong last year and right this year, where we thought he was going to be the next guy up for this team. He was going to be a lot, and he just has not been. He's so not good with the ball. I actually jumped in a Twitter space after the game and talked with some fellow fans of the team, and everyone is just kind of in this space of Jackson has just not been that guy. And there's differing opinions on what he needs to do in terms of like, does he need to go spend some time with City too? Does he need to like change positions? Does he need to go over to Europe? Like all of these different things. But as of right now, like it's hard to watch that guy out there. He just makes the wrong decision so many times. And mind you, on the Cincinnati game, João Klaus also missed a penalty, like right away. So like we're talking about a very different game if he converts that. And then also if Jackson makes like 3 or 4 different decisions in the attacking half, we're looking at a very different game. And unfortunately, we're just not,
It was
Makes no
LA.
sense. Oh,
LA
LA was
used
the one
to
that
be-
missed one?
Because I watched Spurs legend Hugo Lloris save a penalty in my own stadium, brother. That one drove me nuts.
It's insane.
Terrible pen, though. Just put your...
Yeah.
I get you're Brazilian, bro. I get it.
Just fucking
Put
hammer
your
the
fucking,
ball.
Put
bro.
your fucking
Just
foot through the ball, dude. Just
kills me.
hammer it. Just hammer it. Pick a spot and drill it. That, when I see those little stutter step, cheeky little... No, that was never going to work on Hugo.
Yeah.
Miss me.
I was watching that game with my dad, and he was like, "Are penalties like that hard? Like, do you have to do all this stuff?" I was like, "No, just go fucking hit the ball. Like, don't do that. Like, I would rather you hit the shit out of it and strike it off the post than you do that. Like
Yes.
that kills me." The other thing that I find to just be a funny thought is Carnell has to think that Nicholas Dewar is a piece of shit. Like, that kid cannot buy game time. And I mean, so far in the season, Markanich has just done a lot right to where he hasn't necessarily justified losing his starting position. I get that. But now the man's suspended for a game. And you get subbed off at halftime for a guy that is like Kyle Hebert. He's like the 4th choice center back and the 4th choice left back, or I guess now he's the 2nd choice left back. Like, Carnell has to think that Dewar is just not I don't understand it at all.
I'll tell you what, fellas. I'll tell you what. The point that I'll make out of these 2 games is one, they're both extremely frustrating. But 2, I think I've said it probably more than enough times this year that, like, if you look at the 2 games between LA and Cincinnati, who was the best player in the field in both games?
Berkey.
Both of their DPs.
Yeah.
Acosta was unbelievable, and Bouanga was unbelievable. The 2 guys that you needed to step up and like win the game for, you did that. In St. Louis, I appreciate sort of the style of like, we're going to try to build this as organically as we can. We don't necessarily need to spend the big money, but like, I think the reality of this league is it's like, it is an American sports league. Like, you need a star.
Yeah.
Or if you don't have a star, you need to go get a star. And I'm not just saying this about Royce. It could be somebody else, but like, we don't have that player that could just take over a game for us in a game like LA, where for a lot of it, we were in it. We were kind of bouncing back and forth. We just had nobody that can have that magic going forward. And both of those teams had it, because I didn't think LA was that much better than us, but Bouanga got 2 chances and he fucking took them. And that was the difference in the game. Yes, and then you have Klaus on the other end missing a pen. So I think that's the difference, is you need those DPs, and we just don't have that firepower that some of these teams do have to just be able to take over a game like that.
I think the killer on the LA game to me was the substitutions from Carnell. We were watching Markanich get exposed like over and over again.
Just getting cooked.
And that's sometimes unavoidable. So we were all kind of just like, all right, well, I'm assuming there's going to be a defensive substitution. We may get Dyer out there. We may just adjust how, they're very clearly playing through on their right side, our left. Who were the subs, folks? Let me tell you. We had Sam Adeniran come in for João Klaus, AZ Jackson come in for Celio Pompeu, and Blom for Ostrak. So we had 2 6s, Durkin and Blom. We took our most creative player out with Celio, who was on a yellow. It's the only thing I will say about that. And then Big Sam to come in too. I assume we're just going to start bombing balls to him, and that's the plan, because that's kind of really the only thing that we've seen work for him. The plan after that went to complete shit. Like it was just, there wasn't anything that was going to come out of that game once you take those players off, and the guys that coming on haven't showed me much. And, I'm excited to have Blom back, obviously. I'm glad that he's fit again. And, I think that's huge for Durkin and then rotation purposes. But he wasn't going to affect the game in an offensive manner. Where was the decision making? My season ticket rep called me, and we had a quick conversation about the Leagues Cup, to which I, very politely expressed my opinions about the U.S. Open Cup. And he was like, pretty much what I've been hearing. He's like, what about everything else on the field? What about everything else with the team? I was like, well, man, you're not making the substitutions. So as soon as we figure that out, I'll have something to gripe about, but it's not towards you at all. You guys are doing great. Shout out the front office. But those substitutions in the game, the decision-making is always on him.
Blom was brought on strictly to prevent that second goal. That was his sole job of coming in the game, was preventing that counterattack, and then we got counterattacked.
Yeah, that is, dude. Carnell's thought process needs to be explained better, because even in his post-game interviews, I'm just never like, so the decision was made how? And it made sense to you guys, or just aggravating, and it's not going to change. Yeah. We're stuck in our ways to a certain degree. We have a plan, we have a style, we have a system. We don't have the players to output it and use it in the fashion that I think is most effective. Nikki said on a couple podcasts, "Are we Carnell out?" And there's nothing that I can say that is, yes, Carnell should be going, because I don't know who's going to replace him. But
right.
that rope is wearing a little bit thin. And I don't want to get reactionary. I don't want to get, I don't have any hot takes for you today, but that bridge is under a lot of pressure. So
that's how I feel. I hate, obviously because I support Manchester United, I'm so used to this conversation of manager out, and I hate saying manager out without a solution to come to the table with. But I don't have a solution right now. I mean, sure, why not? Fuck it. Let's get after it.
There's your solution.
Domes would do anything for that.
Anything.
Brother, you would pay an arm and a leg for touchline season tickets,
I'd be season tickets right behind the bench, dude.
It'd be insane, bro.
I'd take a loan out.
The only redeeming thing, I suppose, coming from the Cincinnati game is Leuven back. You got 20 minutes. A really nice gesture from the Cincinnati team before the game, showing support to his wife, and then a lot of fans in the crowd with signs saying, we're with you and we're here for you. So that's good. And from a footballing perspective, it will take some time for him to get back to match fitness. And you could even tell, in the 20 minutes he was in,
rusty.
He was rusty, and he was not on the same page as everybody else. So you have to keep in mind that even prior to the absence, because of personal reasons, he was injured. So he's been away from the lineup for 2 months for different reasons. So it's going to take a little bit. We have the Seattle Sounders this weekend, and while they may not be as high up in the table as maybe what they're used to in their history, I suppose, they still have the firepower to come and hit you between the eyes at any point. So we'll see if any course correction happens with Carnell, or quite honestly, we'll see if even what the lineup's going to be. We're back to that game. So that's to come this weekend. And gentlemen, we wrapped up the Premier League on Sunday with Championship Sunday. A little bit lack of fireworks, in my opinion. I felt like going into the final day, you kind of knew what the top four was going to be. You knew what the European spots were going to be. You knew what the title winner was going to be. It just kind of felt like a little bit of okay, that was another match week, and now we're going to wait for a little bit.
Yeah, definitely very much so felt that way.
Winks, I'm curious your thoughts on Championship Sunday.
Yeah, honestly, I was only watching the Arsenal game that morning, and then when Everton scored, City had put that fire out pretty quickly. I think Phil Foden scored in the 3rd minute, and I was, I didn't have high hopes knowing the matchups anyways. But again, you never know. But I saw Phil Foden scored like 3 minutes in, and I was like, all right, it is what it is. I'm not going to let it, ruin my Sunday. Still did, but yeah, I said it in the intro a little bit and didn't go too much into it, but like this year sucked so much more than last year because we kind of saw the way we were trending halfway through the season, or the way that we started to trend, and we all kind of saw it coming. But this year, I think it hurts a little worse having only lost one game in 2024 and still not winning the league, which is insane. And on top of it, to come in second by 2 points in a season where you break your own club's record for wins, and so on and so forth, that I think that all of that combined kind of makes it suck a little more, knowing how close we were versus last year, regardless of how many points we were ahead at any one point in the season. I think that when you lose something that's a lot tighter, I think it hurts a lot more. So sucked. But I agree. After Phil scored, I wasn't really super in tune. I still watched the Arsenal game, but I wasn't, really into what was happening in any of the other games or anything like that. So,
Do you see Rodri's comment after the game?
Yeah, I did. I also saw a tweet. I don't know if it was legit or not, but somebody said that some Everton fan like joked next to like the Arsenal supporters that West Ham tied it up 2-2, and I guess everybody was going crazy or something like that.
Amazing.
That was
That's
wild.
hilarious.
I was like, good banter, but fuck you, Yeah.
Dopes, Hoop,
Wild.
what are your thoughts on the final weekend?
Honestly, I'm one of those, I love drama. So like Griff and Butch came over yesterday. First off, I had 2 TVs. We had 3 laptops going. We had every single game you could possibly imagine on. And I was kind of one of those where I literally just wanted chaos, like as much as possible. Like I wanted to at least come down to like the second half of a game or something like that. And then 2, of course, like being in person with Griff, like I am sort of like, I'm a human. Like he's been an Arsenal fan, one of my best friends forever. Like it would have been kind of nice to see him win, but it was also like satisfying that they didn't at the same time. So it's like, I honestly just wanted chaos. And I think it's one of those, like Wink said, it's like right when Foden scored, you just knew that they weren't, even if West Ham did score, they weren't going to give that up. And it's one of those where truthfully, like it's tough to hate City. Like if you take, as much as it is, like you go to like a 10,000 foot view and you like take the 115 charges out of this Man City team, and just like it's like art on a field when you generally watch them, and what they've done for the past 5 seasons is insane. And the fact that they're literally like, if we have to be perfect, we'll go perfect and we'll go win the league. And you guys can't do anything about it. Not just that, but playing like as good as we've ever seen. I think the only team you kind of compare them to is like that Barcelona team. And you'd probably only give it to Barcelona a little bit because of Leo. But other than that, like this is like the highest quality of football that like we've ever seen in our lives. So it's like, I think that's the one thing that just like taking a step back, it's like, don't really hate City because I don't have a reason to really. Obviously, there's a rivalry, but I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like
they've been so
at the same
clear.
time, it's like you just gotta admire like the fact that like they're incredible.
Is the Premier League the Farmers League now? Like, because that's the conversation. I don't think it's the Farmers League, no. But how do you beat? No one's beating these cats. Like you've got Pep, you've got the money, you've got the squad.
The standard is just so high to where like if you're not 90 points at minimum, like you're not getting even close to them. That's why it's just like when you talk about the gaps and the difference between like United and Spurs and City, it's like miles. Yeah. Just thinking about getting to 90 points seems so fucking far away.
Yeah. And I know Winks probably said something early in the year, but like we knew that. Right, like we knew that was going to be the case for them to have been.
We did talk about it like towards the beginning of or actually I think it was probably a quarter of the way through the second half of the season. It was like when Arsenal was on top for like 3 or 4 weeks. We had talked about how like if we're going to win, we have to win. We can't drop any points.
Yeah.
The rest of the season, and we had that one loss, and
The games that blew it were Spurs, Fulham, and Villa. Like, that's it. Like that. There's not anything really else in your season that you can point at and be like, "Well, this is where the wheels came off," because the wheels didn't come off. Like that. That's the most respect I can give to Arsenal, is that they truly did everything except beat two teams they should have. And Villa was always a tough one, and Spurs is always tricky no matter what. So like. That it's you guys got slighted. At the end of the day, the empathy, the empath in me, and human aspect is I would be absolutely fucking sick if I was in that position, knowing that there's nothing you can do about it.
I think what sucks even more, and I'm gonna meme myself, but City beat West Ham on the final day, right? 3-1 or whatever the final was. We lost both games to West Ham this season. So yes, like Fulham, Villa, tying you guys, whatever, tying City, at the Etihad, but like we lost two of our games. We lost, both games, the home
Moist
and away fixture
masterclass,
to West
baby.
Ham. I guess so.
I genuinely think what's crazy though, and I think there's an argument for this, that like over the course of the entire season from start to finish, like Arsenal's been arguably the most consistent teams. Like the beginning of the season, as Pep always does, they let world-class players go out, they bring world-class players in, and it takes them a little bit to gel. And Guardiola didn't settle in for the first couple of months. And Arsenal were rolling, but, City was still finding results. And then it gets to, they have a few months of playing together, and Pep gets it to click, and then City turns it on. But I just think over the course of a season, you can argue that like Arsenal's been the most consistent team in the Premier League in terms of like style of play, back four, consistency, conceding goals. But
minimal injuries.
That's what I mean. Like that's what's crazy. It's like you can't almost like
they missed Kevin De Bruyne for so much of the season.
That's what I mean. You almost can't have a
he gets
better
4
situation.
Assists. Yeah, he comes back, gets 4 assists in his first game, and then they just fucking roll.
They keep rolling.
Dude.
Yeah, I mean, there's a wagon, and what'll be interesting is Pep in an interview like over the weekend said that like he's going to honor his contract, which ends at the end of next season, but he's not sure after that. That he's like he thinks he might take a break for a little bit. He's been at City for 8-9 years, whatever it's been. That'll be fascinating to see who comes in after that. And it's not like they're going to be like desperate for a manager. Anyone's going to go there, unless of course they're in the championship. But like, it'll just be interesting. I think they have the best players in the world for sure. So many world-class players at each one of their positions, but Pep's the guy that makes it all happen.
Yeah.
He's the one, he's the mastermind. Yeah. So you remove Pep from that and you might have a great manager. You might have someone who's able to get a really good result out of those players, but it's not the same. It's not the same caliber. So I think that City is going to continue to be City for as long as Pep's here. And then once Pep leaves, it'll kind of even the playing field again.
Ben Foster literally today, there was this thing with Goldbridge. He literally said, I think it was something like, the players keep changing, but like right now, if we're going to sit here and like, it doesn't matter who the players are next year, like predict who's going to win the league. It's like, you're going to say City and it's because of Pep Guardiola. It doesn't matter. It doesn't necessarily matter. They're going to spend the money. They're going to get world-class players. But at the end of the day, he's that, the conductor of the symphony that just like makes it all work. And it's like, the 115 charters and shit, like, yes, it's fucking annoying, but at the end of the day, like, we're sitting here just like fans just judging what they do on the field. We have no outcome with the 115 charters. Like, he's as good as it gets, if not better.
The day he leaves the Prem is going to be a good day for everybody.
Oh my God, it'll be like winning a trophy.
Yeah.
Winning a trophy.
It'll feel like what everyone is making Klopp send off. Like everyone will be like, damn, he was really good for the Prem, like good for him. And he'll have way more than 6 trophies to show off. So
I will say though, that was Butch and Griff stuck around. We watched all the different like the after stuff. The Klopp thing was pretty cool. Even as a United fan, like I know that like yes, he's only won 6 trophies or whatever it is. Like that's how if you're a manager, that's how you dream of leaving a club. Like that, just that's exactly like how you dream of leaving a club.
I mean, I'm happy for him. I just think that like we'll look back in 10, 15 years and it will not be.
Oh, of course. I mean, Liverpool fans are still deluded, but doesn't mean that they don't love them.
I have never I mean, what was it a couple of years ago? Was it Derek Jeter's final season where like everywhere he went, people like had like a gift for
Yeah,
him,
Albert
and like
Pujols
whatever.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I feel like that was like the thing where that started this trend of like farewell tours in sports, and now everyone who's like done shit gets a farewell tour. And I'm like, brother, it's just not that serious. Like, I mean, you as a fan base, you can definitely be like, damn, like he was great, like really loved him, but like everyone, every media outlet, everything just bending over for this guy. I'm like, he's just the greatest compliment you can give is that he like pushed City for a couple of years, just like Arsenal did for the last two. Like
he put the pressure on.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's what it is. And like, I don't want to sound like I'm fucking
how many
mocking the
times-
dead here, but like, Jesus.
You know how many times I've said COVID prem to Butch in my life? Like
The
1,000 times. The COVID prem, man. Yeah, you won the COVID prem.
Yeah, the COVID prem with their with all of their inhalers because they all have asthma. And we'll look into that one too. But gentlemen, I also want to bring up kind of like a funny segment. Back on August 10th, the episode that aired August 11th, we predicted our table of Premier League standings. Each one of us did it. And some of us got closer than others, and some of us were not very close. Quite a few of us had United in top four. I don't think anyone saw all of the injuries happening, and United just completely not figuring out how to play, because we all talked about in the season preview that another year under Ten Hag, they're going to be flying, and that did not happen. So we were split pretty 50-50 between Arsenal and City winning the league. You had Dobes, you had Lucas, Jake, all saying Arsenal, the rest of us saying City. So we got that going. But quite interesting. We had Liverpool in the top four from Butchie, and that was it. Everyone predicted that Klopp was going to regress heavily this season. I don't know if you all remember that. And then we had a couple sneaky picks for Villa in fourth. We had myself, we had Jake, we had Hoover, we had Winks. But Hafey threw in Newcastle, which was also a pretty close finish as well. So it is funny going back and looking at this. It feels like kind of like the top seven were pretty nailed on from those people.
I had Liverpool 8th, and we finished 8th.
That's just tough to see, man. It's just tough to see no matter which way. Who were the three teams that got relegated this season? Who were the three?
Burnley, Luton, and Sheffield. I was 2 for 3. I had Burnley finishing 13th.
Oh, wow.
What?
I had Burnley in 14th.
I like JJ Watt, and I trust the company too much.
Yeah, dude. Dude, also, speaking of company, I know this is a every what the fuck is happening with Bayern Munich? Why is every manager is avoiding that job like the plague? Every manager.
Harry Kane curse?
Dude, it's insane. It's like Bayern Munich, for at least all of my soccer fandom, has always been a club run incredibly well. Like top to bottom, behind the scenes, CEO, director of football, technical director, everyone working hand in hand, and there's high expectations, obviously. But like they're now on to like it feels like who'd you bring in Tottenham after Jose?
Nuno.
Yeah, so Nuno was like the 8th choice or whatever, very publicly.
Who was before that? What was his name? Ryan Mason.
Hey.
The GOAT, bro.
Of the club.
Yeah. But like very publicly, Nuno was like 8th on this list, right? Like you couldn't get like the top coaches, and so they went with that guy. And I feel like that's what's going on with Bayern Munich. Like they can't attract anyone. Everyone's saying no, and you said company, because now company's being linked with Bayern Munich. That even though Burnley got relegated, they're still being looked at to replace.
I saw a tweet that was like when you're on like your Hinge profile and you deselect every preference of the type of person you're looking for. It's like that's what Bayern just did for a manager. They are all bars off. Doesn't matter what you're doing right now. We're just available.
Yeah. which is insane. I don't know. I just, it feels like there's something going on behind the scenes because, like, I mean, who was it? Ralph Ragnick got all the way down to the job offer and then was like, I'm going to stick with Austria. That's insane.
Peace.
That's crazy. But last but not least, fellas, an ode to Bayer Leverkusen, an undefeated Bundesliga season. They capped it off with a great win over the weekend. And they head into a Europa League final on Wednesday. They play Atalanta on Wednesday night or Wednesday afternoon, I suppose. Do we think that Leverkusen's going to add another trophy to the cabinet with this one?
Defeated. How are we supposed to say no? Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
They're too good.
I'm a Leverkusen fan.
I'm a Leverkusen fan for life now. I just bought a Jeremy Frimpong jersey. I'm expecting that to come in soon. They're an absolute wagon. And they're like, it's one of those situations to where they're fun to watch on the field. They're not playing Jose terrorist ball to where they're just grinding results. They are punishing teams, and they're doing it late. They're 13 goals after the 90th minute this year. Like, it's we overuse this term, but it is must-see football. They are so much fun. And the jokes about what would happen when they play Madrid in, the Super Copa or whatever it is, it's like the ground may just open up and everyone gets swallowed. Like, no idea how that's going to pan out, but they're going to be such a welcome addition to the Champions League next year, and I'm going to be very high on them. No one recreates a perfect season. Just, in general, probably the hardest thing to ever do. But
if I were them, I just almost want to lose the first game next season.
Just get it out of the way.
You know what I mean? Just get the monkey at the back. I'm also so thankful that Xabi did not go to Liverpool.
Me too,
like,
dude.
He is so easy to love, man. Just like him going over the fans and just not only that, but like you said, the way they play, like he transformed that team.
They play a 5-back system, which I hate. And it works.
No,
it looks great. It looks great.
Dude, it's so fun to watch. It's so fun to watch. So Wednesday, we will all be a little Leverkusened up. We're here for it. We got a short one tonight, fellas. Starting next week, we're going to dive in. What?
Before we go, I've got a little sound bite, I think, from the podcast where we did.
Hell yeah.
Let me see if it works. We'll check here. Till April, when Man City comes in and Arsenal.
That's so good, bro. You gotta just save that shit forever.
I'm so glad I pulled up that podcast. It's like, I'm pretty sure I threw some digs in there about them dropping it, and I knew for a fact that had to come back. So I was happy about that prediction. And who's right?
Here we go.
Ball knowledge.
Right?
Ball knowledge confirmed.
Xhaka kept the Arsenal curse going, man. You leave and you win a title.
You leave and you win a
It's
title.
insane. So yeah, short one tonight, but starting next week, we're going to dive in a little bit more into the end of the season recap with our team of the season, looking at some teams that overperformed, underperformed, all that good stuff. And of course, will be relevant with St. Louis City all throughout this summer as well before we move into season 4 of the Mecca of Banter. So that's pretty insane.
That's cool.
So
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. We're going on season 4 here. So last but not least, don't forget to shop Manscaped with code MECCA20, MECCA 20 for 20% off and free shipping worldwide with MECCA20. So cheers, fellas.
Some potential guests maybe this summer. We're going to have a lot more availability. If you want on, let us know.
Holler at us. Let's go. All right, fellas. Cheers.
Yeah, boys.
Cheers.
Boys.